guys and welcome to another Disney reading. Today we have Disney's Up, Carl's Promise. Now you'll probably notice we've got two consecutive Up episodes. So we've got Carl's Promise and then Paradise Fall. So what I'm going to do is read them both. So it'll be a double episode. So guys, I hope you enjoy it, and just let you know that one is showing July 6th, that's July 7th, but we're going to do it in one. Right. And actually, let me center the book because I'm going to read both, as I say. Carl and Ellie had been best friends since they first met as children. They grew up, got married, and dreamed of becoming explorers. But Carl and Ellie didn't become explorers. They both worked at the zoo. However, they still dreamed of travelling to Paradise Falls in South America. They saved all their spare change in a jar to pay for the trip, but they could never quite collect enough. The years went by, and Carl and Ellie grew older. After Ellie passed away, Carl kept all her things just as they had been. But it wasn't the same. He missed Ellie. To make matters worse, the neighbourhood around their beloved home was being torn down to make room for tall, modern buildings. One day, Carl heard a knock at his door. A boy in a uniform was standing on his porch. "Good afternoon," said the boy. "My name is Russell, and I am a junior wilderness explorer. Are you in the need of assistance today, sir?" "No," replied Carl. He didn't want help. He just wanted to be left alone. But Russell wouldn't leave. He wanted to help Carl, so that he could earn his Assisting the Elderly badge. "If I get it, I will become a senior wilderness explorer," Russell explained. To get rid of Russell, Carl gave him a task. He asked him to find a bird called a snipe. "I think its burrow is 2 blocks down," Carl said. Russell eagerly set off to find the bird, not knowing that it didn't really exist. Carl had made the whole thing up. Not long after that, Carl received some bad news. He was being forced out of his house and sent to live in a retirement home. Carl didn't want to leave his house. All his memories of Ellie were here. That night, Carl sat in his living room, looking through Ellie's adventure book. He remembered Ellie's dream of going to South America. He had promised her he'd take her there in an airship. The next morning, 2 nurses arrived to drive Carl to the retirement home. "I'll meet you at the van," he told them. "I want to say one last goodbye to the old place." As the nurses walked back to their van, a huge shadow fell over them. They turned to see thousands of balloons tied to Carl's house. A moment later, the whole house rose into the air. "So long, boys," Carl yelled out of the window. He was going to South America. Part 2. Carl had wanted to be an explorer ever since he was a child. So had his friend and wife Ellie. He had promised Ellie that he'd take her to see Paradise Falls in South America one day, but they were never able to save enough money to go. When they grew older, Ellie sadly passed away, and Carl was told he had to move out of his house. But Carl had decided he had to keep his promise to Ellie. He tied thousands of balloons to their little house and slowly lifted into the sky. Carl steered the flying house using ropes attached to the weather vane. He checked his compass and map and set a course to Paradise Falls in South America. "We're on our way, Ellie," he said happily. Suddenly there was a knock at the door. Carl was shocked. He was thousands of feet up in the air. Who could be at his door? It was Russell, a junior wilderness explorer, who had knocked on his door a few days before. Carl had told him to find a snipe, a bird that didn't really exist, just to get rid of him. Russell had been under Carl's porch looking for the snipe when the house lifted off. "Please let me in," Russell begged. What choice did Carl have? He let Russell come in. Carl hated to stop, but he knew he had to land and send Russell home. He started to cut some of the balloons free. Meanwhile, Russell was watching the clouds out of the window. "There's a big storm coming," he said, but Carl didn't hear him. A flash of lightning lit up the room. Carl desperately tried to steer the house away from the storm, but it was too late. The little house tossed in the wind. Carl ran this way and that, trying to save Ellie's belongings. Finally, exhausted, he fell asleep. When Carl woke up, the storm was over. "I steered us down," Russell told him proudly. "We're in South America." As Carl and Russell stepped out onto the porch, the house crash-landed and sent them both flying. "My house!" Carl cried as it started to drift away from them. Grabbing hold of the garden hose, he and Russell managed to pull the house back down. Just then, the fog cleared. There, a short distance ahead, was Paradise Falls. It looked just like Ellie's picture. "We made it!" Carl shouted. "We could float right over there." Carl was amazed. He had finally made the trip he and Ellie had always dreamt about. So guys, if you enjoyed that double story, click like. If you'd like to see more, click subscribe. And the next story will be Lady and the Tramp, A Rainy Night In. I'll see you soon guys. Bye bye.